This lecture is going to be on middle childhood off to school, and we have been talking about Piaget's stages, and we've gone from pre-operational, and now we're entering concrete operational, which is 7 to 11 years old. Students are now able to perform mental operations. They understand that thoughts can be reversed. If you recall from your earlier time period that the children were looking at the milk that was being poured into different size glasses, and they thought if the glass was tall, then they had more milk. Now all of a sudden they understand that different sizes of glasses can still contain the same amount of milk. They understand the difference between them. But at this concrete stage, they do not have the ability to have abstract thinking. Their problem solving takes on an earthbound, concrete, practical minded sort of problem solving approach. They can't think outside of the box. So thinking abstractly and hypothetically is beyond their ability. So everything is pretty much black and white, and I do have some nice videos that I will put up on our web page so you can see the difference between them. And then all of a sudden, at age 11 to adulthood, they now enter Piaget's last stage, which is formal operations. And this is where they expand their thinking beyond concrete and reality based, and they understand abstract thinking, hypothetical thinking. So they're going to use psychological operations instead of just concrete operations. They have the ability to do deductive reasoning, which is drawing conclusions from facts. So at this same time, they're starting to enlarge their cognitive abilities, their information processing, and their cognitive development gets more developed by the efficiency with which children process information. So one way that they do this is the creation of storage and memory. So we understand from intro that most human thought takes place in our working memory. So remember, you have to encode things, you have to store them, and you have to retrieve them. That information then will go from your working memory to your long-term memory, which of course is your permanent storehouse of knowledge that has an unlimited capacity. So what the children will do at this point is they're going to start to use memory strategies, organization. They're going to use elaboration, which is embellishing information to be remembered to make it more memorable. So they're going to use that strategy. We use it all the time, we just don't even think about it. So using strategies about thinking is called metacognition, which is thinking about thinking. So you're using your skills to think about how you should approach something, what strategies you want to use in order to encode, store, and retrieve information and learn. So metacognition should be thought of as knowledge and understanding of what we know and how we think, including our ability to regulate our thinking. We need cognitive skills in order to perform a task. Metacognitive skills allow us to understand how the task was performed. And if we do it well, we want to repeat it. If we don't do it well, then we want to use new strategies in order to perform the task. So meta memory is a child's informal, innate understanding of memory. So in order to use metacognition, we divide it into two separate but interrelated parts. Let's start off by talking about the first one, which is metacognitive knowledge. And metacognitive knowledge is the knowledge that we hold about our own thinking and the thinking about other people. And that can be very powerful information. What we know about our thinking. So, for me, this is my metacognitive knowledge. I know that I need to do my work in a quiet space without any noise. That's what I know about myself. And that can be a very powerful thing because I can use that information to do a better job on studying if I need to study. You yourself will understand what works best for you. I know some students that need music playing. They'll have their headphones on and it works perfectly well for them. They're getting good grades. So being able to understand about your own thinking is incredibly powerful. So we actually have three types of metacognitive knowledge. And the first one is declarative. So knowledge of one's own learning process. I have to work in silence. That's knowledge of my own working process. Then we have number two, which is procedural, knowing skills and strategies, understanding what strategies you need in order to study better, to learn more. Perhaps you're a person who really uses a lot of mnemonic devices. Maybe you have to write things down, highlight, put them on index cards. These are very powerful things. And the last one is conditional, and that is knowing when, why, and where strategies should be used. So different scenarios you might need different strategies. So and that is all makes it much more powerful for you to have really excellent information processing. The second one was self-regulation, and that refers to a set of activities that help learners to control their learning. There are actually three essential skills to self-regulation, and that is number one, planning. How to approach a task. How you approach it will determine your success in that task. So if you know that you need a quiet space, perhaps you need to go to your room and straighten things up and make things in a more workable surroundings conducive to studying. So that is planning, how to approach a task. Number two is monitoring. You've got to take on task awareness, monitor yourself, regulate what you're doing. Is it working for you or is it not? And lastly, three is evaluation. Review the outcomes, the efficiency of the experience. Did your strategies work for you? Did you plan it well? Or should you do something else next time? So knowing about metacognitive skills and metacognition and its potential benefits greatly supporting pupils in the learning environment. So if you're a teacher in elementary school and you can teach your students metacognitive skills, it empowers them and makes the learning process much easier. And when it's easier, it's a lot more enjoyable and you learn a lot more. So that is the end of part one of this chapter, Middle Childhood.